Welcome down to the shop. I'm Ian and I make stuff. I'm going to be trying something. I'm not talking about the beard, that's a whole nother thing, and results so far are a little mixed. Anyhow, if you've seen my Instagram, you've seen that I've made a bunch of shields for Pickering Woodworks in the past, and one of the things I was most proud of were my Second Age Gondor shields. One of the other cool shields at the end of the Second Age in Lord of the Rings were the Elven shields with big leaf-shaped, kind of kite shield type looks, and I'm gonna try to make one of those. Problem is, it's a very complex design, and I probably won't be able to make a screen accurate, but I'm going to try to do my best version of it. So we're going to try a few things, and I'm going to get to break out my new toy, the Ender 3 3D printer. It's probably one of the lower end ones from what I'm told, but for my purposes, it might be just enough. So let's take a look at it. This is the boss for the Gil Galad shield we're making. I printed out this piece on my Ender 3. Went reasonably well. It's too small to print the whole thing, so I had to chop it into 3 pieces. Now the interesting thing is, if you can see it here, there's a little weird dip right here, even though this is all printed from the same model. And I went back and checked the model after like carving it up. There isn't this little dip in any of the models. The weird thing is, it's not likely to be like a heat shrinkage problem, because this is actually like 2 layers, two non-connected walls thick, and everything seems to have lined up as the nozzle went past. So it's not like the printer thinks it did the right job, thinks it did what it was supposed to do, because you can see it's on the inside here too. Yeah, the inside wall also has this bump in it. So we'll see. I mean, I was always going to have to Bondo this thing. Ooh, I broke it. I'm going to have to reglue that. I was always going to have to Bondo this thing and smooth it out and sand it anyway, so a little bit more Bondo here to fill in this trough would probably not be terrible, but yeah, it's just a very odd thing. Now, it turned out Bondo like hardens way faster than I thought it was going to, so I had to like put a bunch of extra layers on to make up for the pits and holes that I put in there as it dried really quickly. I mean, it goes from gooey to oatmeal just so suddenly. You end up with these mountains and caverns that you have to like either sand out or do something about. So I ended up carving them down with a knife, putting another bit of Bondo in there to try to fill it in there and try to smooth it out, and hope to God that I do it fast enough to not make more mountains and hills and crevices. Anyway, tomorrow I'm going to bring it back to the shop and get a power sander on to try to get some of these smaller dents and things out there. Try to make it as smooth as possible before I give it a bit of resin pour to smooth it out real good. We made the main body of the shield the same way we usually do. On the shield press, we simply curve laminate 2 sheets of Baltic birch plywood by spreading out a fuck ton of glue between the 2 sheets and pull them down across a frame with ratchet straps. The top layer has the perimeter of the shield shape lightly V-carved in with the CNC router to give us a guide for later. We chose birch because it's a nice and tough wood, and when done up as plywood, it's also really flexible, negating the need to soak or steam the sheets to get an even lamination that you might have to do for stiffer woods. I'm told it's this flexibility that actually makes it a choice wood for skateboards. After letting the glue cure overnight, I used a jigsaw and bandsaw to cut the shield to shape following the V-carved guide in the top layer. I then run it over the belt sander to even out the thing a bit. For the hard-to-reach areas, I use a drum sander bit and a drill press. I probably could have used the oscillating drum sander, but I was lazy and I didn't feel like setting it up. Once it was all sanded to shape, I went to the table router to round over the outside edges. On the Elven shields, the bosses are surrounded by this highly ornate embossing. I can't recreate that kind of complexity in wood yet, but we're going to try another thing. We're going to do a bit of an experiment. I drew up the details I wanted in Photoshop and Illustrator, then exported them to the industrial laser cutter run by Ravenhill Industries, who also contributes to Pickering Woodworks, and also happens to rent shop space from Matt just across from me. We cut all the elements out with the laser and then set them carefully aside for painting along with the main body of the shield. While they were drying, I drew up a few more filigreed embossings onto a cardboard template, then I transferred those to a roll of sticker paper. I cut them out and applied them to the painted shield body when it was dry. I masked off the perimeter of the shield with electrical tape because its stretchiness allows me to make curves I couldn't get if I just used paper tape. I'm doing all this masking because I'm going to lightly spray the face with another slightly darker gold paint. You can't really see it too well here, and in person it also is a bit too subtle, so I ended up going around with the gold paint pen. Once everything was dried up, it was time to start installing the pieces that were cut out of the laser. It was actually really fun, like putting together a jigsaw puzzle that I didn't want to immediately strangle for once. I used 30-minute epoxy so I'd have lots of time to get all the little pieces in before needing to mix up another batch, then use some seal weights to hold everything down while it cured. Now, it says 30-minute epoxy, but that doesn't mean it's fully cured in the 30 minutes. It just means that's when you're not really able to keep working with it. So I left it overnight. All right, here is the finished product. We went with the Gil Galad version, as you can see from all the blue. I think I might have mentioned that earlier. But it actually all worked out really well. The laser cut stuff here was just so satisfying to kind of snap into place and glue down as it was. The boss turned out real nice. You still can't really see it with the light, but you can see the slight two-tone in the gold here. That's one of my more favorite paint jobs. If you have any intention of going to Edmonton Expo this weekend, Matt will be there with this shield and a whole bunch of other nerdy woodcrafts to sell. If you want this one, that will be your chance to get it. But I should point out, and Matt has warned me that I have to tell you, this is not going to be a combat shield. This is not a LARPing shield. This is a display piece. As such, there is no handle on the back, just a little bit of wire to hang it on your wall. It is a display piece because, frankly, this thing is made out of plaster, out of Bondo, and plastic. It is not going to take a hit, and I would be very upset if you bought this and broke it. Anyway, that's the Gil Galad shield. I hope you enjoyed watching the video, and if you want to see some more shields, I do make a few more throughout the year, so let me know in the comments if you want to see those videos. Anyway, see you on the next one.